Okay, welcome back. It's Mr. Hurst again. I just want to spend a few minutes of your time going through some reminders and also some new information about how school will look from Monday the 8th of March. Now, before I do that, I just want to remind you of our We Are Wycliffe skills. For the last few weeks and months, you will have been very independent. So we're looking at that independent thinker skill. You will have had to quite possibly do a lot of things for yourself, make decisions yourself, get on with your work by yourself. All right, so you will have looked at and considered lots and lots of different skills associated with that. What we now need you to do is to move from that to slap bang in the middle there, the We Are Wycliffe skill of being a responsible citizen. As lockdown comes to an end and we return to school, we need you to be responsible as a student and as a local person in the community. All right, so a real shift now towards you being responsible and thinking of other people. Now, before I go through some of the reminders and changes, just a little bit of a celebration really for what you've been doing over the last few weeks, last couple of months. And to be honest, vast majority of you have been absolutely amazing. You've attended your live lessons. Our attendance has been superb. You've engaged in the lessons. You've used the chat. You've completed the work. You've got involved with the quizzes and the assessments. You've used the whiteboards and so on. Right? Really, really good effort. Great engagement. Great attendance. Many of you have attempted our house competitions and quizzes. And quite a few of you, I've been looking at Twitter, have been participating in our Gritcliffe Challenge. Well done to everybody for the last few weeks and months. Hasn't been easy. You will be rewarded via e-praise for all of your efforts. So, some reminders. Now, it's not just me reminding you. We've also had lots of reminders from the government, right, that we as a school need to make sure it remains a safe place to be, with the common goal of reducing the risk of infection. So a slide here that has some do's on the right and some don'ts on the left. Right? And this is where we need to be responsible. We all need to play our part. And you're probably looking down those lists now. I'll pick out a couple of key points. From the don'ts, where possible, please don't bunch together, hugging, linking arms, and all that sort of thing. That will transmit germs. Please don't take your masks off in the toilet areas. Right? You need to play your part in reducing the risk of infection. And when you do wear your masks, make sure you're wearing them properly. On the other side, the do's, almost the opposites here. Where possible, move around the building, keeping left in a sensible way. Where possible, maintain social distancing. It's a busy school, right? It's sometimes impossible, but do your best to maintain social distancing. Keep your masks on in the toilet areas. Already said, that helps reduce the spread of the virus. And wear your mask properly, not down over your chin, not down, not covering your nose. Make sure you get it right, please. So some do's and don'ts. The structure of the day did change during lockdown. Right, but we are now going back to how it was before Christmas, right? Different times, starting and finishing times, different lesson times, different break times, right? And that is designed to keep you apart from other students and other bubbles. To protect members of the local community, and this is where you really need to be a responsible citizen, right? The government have said that you must wear face coverings on buses and in shops. So this doesn't just apply to the top shop and the school bus. This is all shops and all buses. It is not optional. You must wear a face covering. And I've already mentioned social distancing. Ideally, you would need to be staying 2 metres from other people. However, in a busy school, that is not always possible, and in some circumstances it's impossible. But where possible, you must socially distance. And again, please do not touch other people. Hugging, linking arms, everything else, or their possessions. This virus hangs about on possessions and surfaces too. Please avoid doing those things. Some reminders. Your routes into school. 9s and 11s, you will use the entrance as you did before Christmas at the corner of West End Park and walk up the old bus lane. Year 7s, you'll come into school by the zebra crossing on Turnsteads Avenue. And years 8 and 10, you'll use the entrance near the main vehicle entrance and walk up towards the Vibe. As you enter the school building, you must sanitise your hands. Not optional. You must sanitise your hands. And you must do that when you leave the building as well, and at various times throughout the day. Hands are one of the most common parts that will transmit the germs. Keep them clean as often as you can. Some of you bring your own sanitiser. Well done for that. That's great. Okay, one of the key changes from the recent government guidance is all to do with face coverings. We are used to the box at the top. This was the case before Christmas. Face coverings had to be worn in communal areas unless you are exempt, eating or outside. The change now is that the government are now saying face coverings should be worn at all times in classrooms too. Of course, if you're exempt, that wouldn't apply. But face coverings should be worn at all times in classrooms. In relation to the teacher and the teacher wearing a face covering, a teacher may well choose to remove their face covering whilst they're at the front of the room behind that 2-metre safety line. But when the teacher circulates the room to check your work, for example, the teacher would then be expected to put on their face covering for your safety and theirs. The layout of the school remains as 5 separate bubbles, with year 7 using the ground floor and years 8 to 11 each occupying a different corner of the building on floors 1 and 2. And as you all know, you must not under any circumstances break bubbles. That is how there will be cross-contamination, germs spreading and so on. You were really good at this before Christmas. We need you to be good at it again. In classrooms, again, different to how it's been historically, everybody at the moment needs to sit and face the front, as you can see in the picture there. And the change I've already mentioned, face coverings should now be worn in classrooms too. And again, a reminder, no different to how it was before Christmas. We would expect you to clean your desk at the end of every lesson. You must do that to protect yourself and other people. The teacher will organise the spray and the cleaning, tissues and wipes. We would expect you to clean it properly and dispose of the rubbish in the appropriate bin. You must do that. Thank you in advance for doing that. We also asked you to bring more equipment, and we need you to continue doing that. You must bring your own equipment, and please don't give your equipment to other people. That defeats the object. That's how germs will spread. And you bringing more equipment helps us out. We don't have to lend equipment, which again would be a form of transmission. So quite a long list there. We expect you though to be bringing all of your own. And certainly some of that equipment we would expect you to get out onto your desk without having to be asked. Your planner, your workbooks, your pencil cases, etc. We also expect you to follow the power of 3. We expect you to be ready, to be respectful, and to be safe. No change there at all with our rewards and behaviour policy. Where you do get it right, as you know, you get rewarded through e-praise, through house points. When it doesn't go to plan, Please re-familiarise yourself with verbal warnings and consequences, C1s, C2s and so on. They might result in an R&R. Those are the locations for those. And just a reminder, when you started Whitcliffe Mount, you entered into an agreement, a partnership. You, your parents and carers, and us, the school, agreed that we would work together to give you the best possible deal. And you were part of that, you signed that. And another key change that you might be aware of, you might have had conversations at home about testing, COVID testing. You may well have seen it on the news, and there is now a requirement for schools, right, to test you as students and to train you on how to test so that you can do it yourselves at home. So there will be more information coming to you, some of which you've had already, about how we are going to test you. So that information is on a letter that you've probably already received at home, right? And we will tell you more information, right, as we go through the next few days and weeks to make sure you are comfortable, right, doing that COVID testing at home. And we have got plenty of staff that are now trained in how to teach you to do that. Right, so it's absolutely nothing to worry about. But that is one of the key changes that I'm sure you will already be aware of. More information to follow on that. So some specific information for Year 7 students. Just a reminder that your bubble pretty much takes up the whole of the ground floor and one class in the Vibe. So there should be no need for you to go upstairs at all. Very important you go the correct way to lunch and break and use the toilets that have been allocated to your bubble. So for lunch and break, you guys use the main hall. You can use both access doors to that, and your outdoor space is down past the music room and outside. Toilets for you during break and lunch are the main downstairs toilets. Please keep to those routes. Don't go anywhere else. During lesson time, toilets for emergency use you can see there. For 7M, that is towards the corner of the building near the stairs, near food technology. And for 7W, opposite classroom 045, which is the IT suite. So that's for emergency use only. All this information we did give to you on a card right back in September. Now, if you do want another card to remind yourself, please speak to Mr. Plummer. He will be able to get that to you. Emergency evacuations. Now, in the event that we hear the emergency siren going off, we would evacuate out of the closest door, and Year 7s, you would make your way to the far end of the mugger. And as you can see on that diagram, 7W right at the far end, and then 7M towards the middle, lined up against your appropriate numbers in your classes. If you do happen to be on PE at the time of the evacuation, you would just congregate at the end of the mugger next to the sports hall. This is just another diagram showing those emergency evacuation meeting places.